Jane knew exactly how she, Russ, their daughter Alyssa, and a cat ended up living out of a Beta Econoline van, now parked at a Fred Meyer's one-stop shopping center in Portland, Oregon. It was as obvious, as unavoidable, once things were in motion, as a good car wreck. Some 6 months ago, things got tough when Nehalem Lumber laid off Russ and all the other mill workers. Nothing Russ or anybody did. The word was simply, no more logs to cut. Jane saw Russ and his buddies try as they may to keep each other up with jokes about tree huggers and owls. He put a bumper sticker on the Econoline, "Are you an environmentalist or do you work for a living?" Russ's buddies got a kick out of that one. But Jane realized the growing truth of a mill that would never reopen was bearing down. They scraped by with money from unemployment. Russ even admitted that because he was out of work, he should take off the bumper sticker. Then he got madder about bureaucrats stealing their way of life and decided the bumper sticker would stay. Weeks rolled by. The owl jokes got scarcer and what Jane heard out of Russ was talk about buddies moving on. Some set off for Seattle to drive trucks at good pay, barking it until their families could come up for more permanent arrangements. Things, though, would not turn for Russ. And when they wanted to have a garage sale and raise money, they discovered Vernonia had too many garage sales and too many people holding cash tight. One thing led to another. They gave away most of the junk, kept a few good things with Russ's brother, and then, a few weeks back, with the rent due, took up life in the van. Jane lit one of her cigarettes, the Virginia Slims she called Ginny Skinnies. She did not mind the waiting. Who knows? Russ could get on at Fred Meyer's. Back of the front seat in the Econoline, Alyssa screamed Toby scratched her, but Jane knew a scrawny kitten was not up to scratching anybody. Alyssa, she said in a voice wise to kid tricks. Toby had escaped into the plaid flannel liner of one of the 2 green sleeping bags. Jane let it be and looked over the sorry, plain apartments just outside the parking lot. Did people living there have any idea how quick the personal situation might just sour and leave them out on the street? She took a long drag, then lowered her eyes and blew a smoke ring with her lips sewed out like a hungry fish. Alyssa giggled, then tried to stop, without much success. She was being bad. Jane raised her cigarette, gave her 4-year-old the eye. Alyssa had Toby up on his hind legs. The light-colored fur on his chest and belly showed more than the darker tabby stripes. Poor Toby looked like some muppet she wanted to make dance. Jane stubbed the cigarette in the ashtray. Alyssa, put him down, right this second. Now, what was it with kids that made 'em enjoy torturing animals? Mommy, I'm not hurting him, Alyssa said softly like she might get spanked. Toby wants to play. She started to smooth the fur on his back, but he crawled away for the other side of the van. Give him here, Jane said. He probably wants to go and your teasing don't help things one bit. Jane winced at the idea of cat pee on sleeping bags. Would that smell ever hang around for a while? Alyssa flopped over, grabbing the cat by the tail like she was in a game of tackle football. Alyssa, watch yourself, he's going to take a leak. Jane took Toby in hand, pushed open the door, got out, and plunked him down on the blacktop. His spindly legs made him look unsteady. He sniffed the pavement. Jane got a handful of cat litter and tossed it well under the van. She didn't need Russ yapping about stepping in a cat's little puddle. Watcha doin'? Watcha doin'? This primes the pump, Jane said, then she picked up Toby and slid his spindly legs smack in the middle of the cat litter. He stood still, then scratched with a forepaw. Alyssa hung out the door, head upside down to see everything. Alyssa, get back in the car. Toby was pawing to cover up a patch of damp cat litter. Before Toby could walk anywhere, Jane grabbed and tossed him on the sleeping bags. Alyssa took him in her arms. I love you, kitty. Don't ever leave me like Figaro. Poor Figaro. They found old Figaro lying on the back steps, flies all over his head. Jane told Alyssa he had gone to heaven where every cat is happy. Didn't matter. Alyssa cried she would never have another cat so special. That is, until Toby a month ago. Toby was free and came with markings just like Figaro. Oh, Jane said, doesn't look like Daddy's got good news. Quote. Head down. Russ walked back to the van with a bunch of papers. How'd it go? Jane asked. Russ pulled himself up to a full 6'2" and shook the papers like he just might throw them away. Oh, nice guy and all, wants me to fill these out even though he doesn't have any current openings and then. Nothing coming up. He gazed skyward. Jane got another cigarette going. Oh, sure, she said, her words mixed with smoke, like on the off chance he's got some dork in mind he's set to fire any day. Jane kept an eye on Alyssa. Right. Sounds like a line he's paid to tell anyone comes in for employment. His words trailed off. Daddy's getting a job, Alyssa said to Toby all sing-songy. She had him dancing on his hind legs again. Did you tell him you wanted to work produce? Jane asked. You bet. First thing I said. But he said most likely any opening's gonna be bottle returns. Bottle returns. That's what I thought. Then I asked him what the pay was, how many hours, I couldn't believe it. Quote. That job's for a kid living at home. Yeah. I came right out and said no way could I feed a wife and kid and live any place half decent here in Portland. And little Toby. Alyssa cried out. I don't know, Russ said. That little kitty might have to go out for his own dinner. This situation don't pick up. Mommy, you said we keep Toby. Alyssa looked at Toby's golden eyes. You said he was for me. You did. Alyssa, Jane said, that's not what Daddy meant. He just meant we might have to find someone to take Toby in if we can't feed him. That's all. Alice's face twisted with pain as if she knew Russ was really thinking about dumping her cat at the pound. No, no, Toby's mine. I'll always take care of him. She was crying. A cat. That's the least of our worries, Russ said to Jane. Alyssa sobbed tears that got her face good and red. She gasped for breath and blurted out, Toby's mine. We'll run away. We'll live in the forest. Jane reached one hand back as if to comfort her, then glanced sideways at Russ. He had out the electric blue nylon wallet and tore back the Velcro flap stained with grease. Look, this is it, not even 150. Russ thumbed the 20s, the 5s, the 1s. He slapped the wallet shut. Alyssa got quiet. This is it. Spend it on food and gas and there's nothing more. So if that cat's gotta go, it's because he's taking chances like all of us. He grabbed the bag with Toby's food and asked how many cat food cans were left. He ignored Alyssa hugging Toby. Russ counted cans. 5 more days, Toby, you're on your own. Jane turned away from Russ. Stared again at the apartments. Why did he single out Toby? And 5 days. 150's not gonna let the rest of them eat much longer. A month, if that. Russ was not in a good mood. She would keep her thoughts private. They stopped at a payphone by a gas station. Russ had focus. He copied out addresses for another Fred Meyer, some Safeways, and an Albertsons, all on the east side. Jane did not see what it was with grocery stores. He could cast in different waters. But Russ knew what he wanted, produce, not bottle returns. He said it was a matter of saying the same line over and over. Somewhere, some grocery store had to buy the pitch and take him on. Jane wanted to tell Russ to apply some place that advertised openings, but then buried in the van was a family heirloom. A pickled thumb from one of Russ's uncles. He axed it off on a dare. Russ could have inherited a genetics problem about not letting go of a challenge. Anyway, Jane understood, had no advice, especially with how Russ felt about Toby. So in a parking lot, out a parking lot, the Econoline went and they hit a total of 5 stores for the afternoon. While they waited at each stop, Alyssa went back to teasing Toby. The shrieks and questions were such that Jane promised her she could suggest one thing for dinner. At Albertsons, Russ returned to say, there's only so much rejection a guy can take. Quote. You made it through your list of stores, Jane said. And I'm beat as a broken drum. Jane glanced at store shoppers coming out the automatic doors pushing loaded carts. Hate to mention it, Jane said, but this place as good as any to get some things for dinner. Quote. Russ folded his arms on the steering wheel and rested his head. I wouldn't make you do that. I'll go in, Jane said. Alyssa jumped, holding on the seat back. Potato chips, Mommy, potato chips. They headed over to Forest Park where tall fir trees kept things well in the shade except where sunlig. HT sparkled off a playground slide, a pair of swings, and a merry-go-round, which had a real circle of erupt from kids running next to it.